Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Shake Sales. I got Meredith Chandler here. Welcome.
Hi.
How's it going?
Great. So excited to be here.
We're going to talk about two things. Really accountability for sales teams and sales reps and AEs, and empathy and why the heck that matters. Meredith, would you mind just giving a quick intro in your background, what you're doing right now? Let me jump in.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Meredith Chandler. I'm currently head of sales at P Club IO. It's a skill transformation platform for sales reps. And previously to that, I have managed teams and I've come in as the first sales rep at multiple companies, built those teams out, scaled them, then moved into management before moving along in the career.
Nice. Awesome. So you've been doing sales and leading sales teams for a while. So, let's jump into the first topic, empathy, right? So okay, I'm the CEO of Mailshake. We've got a sales team of like somewhere between 8 and 10 people at any given time. And, I measure as a CEO, like the results, right? Like how many leads are we getting, demos, revenue, all the metrics. I don't regularly communicate with every individual sales rep. So I personally don't have a whole lot of empathy. I look at the numbers, but why does empathy matter from your perspective or in your world?
Empathy is huge in sales because as of today, it's still human beings selling, right? We're not bots and we haven't been replaced by bots today. And so Every human being is intrinsically motivated by something completely different, right? And it's our job as leaders to find out what motivates each individual so that we can help support them and play into those motivations. So an example is I once had a boss many moons ago who was always dangling promotions. And he would say, well, if you did this, you could get promoted. And if you did that, you'd get promoted. But I, at the time, could not care less about being promoted. My motivation at the time was just my paycheck. And had they taken the time to learn that, and if they had played into my motivation and empathized with me there, they would have got a much stronger result much stronger results from my performance. And so I take that learning experience and I try to emulate it with each individual rep and figure out, do you want a promotion? Are you here for your paycheck? Are you saving up for your house? Are you saving up for a move? What is each individual motivated by?
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's a very overlooked step, right? Like everyone's like, you put a rep in a mold and maybe their output, what they work on, the numbers might be the same, but like the reason behind why they're at work or what they're doing and why they're doing is all different. So I totally see why, like if a manager is like, oh, like dangly and carrot and you want chocolate, it's like, yeah, I don't care. I want more money, not a better title right now. Right. That's interesting. Yeah. And I think like, honestly, what you just described is like one conversation away from knowing that about a person. Right. So that's amazing. I think that's, you get that little piece of detail and everything and how you manage that person changes. Right. I found like in managing various roles and employees over the years, like somebody might love direct feedback and the very next person might be like, well, I prefer it this way. And like people are like, I want verbal feedback. I want written feedback. And it's just like all these little details are just like, if you overlook them, the results on the other end are going to suffer. Right.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
No two reps are alike. No two managers are alike. No two humans are alike.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. And we haven't been replaced by AI. And, I've seen, we play around with AI all the time and there's a reason why, right? I don't think it's going to help augment our roles and the manual work we do versus replace us. But anyways, let's talk about accountability. So, again, accountability, what does that like for you as a head of sales? What does that mean for how do you hold your team accountable? How do you hold yourself accountable?
Yeah, I think accountability plays off of empathy, right? So the first thing you want to do is build that system of trust with your team or your reps, right? And so going back to empathy, which will play on accountability, some things that I've done in the past is when I get a new team member, like you said, day one, you want to ask them, what motivates you so that you're working towards those goals throughout your entire time together. And when you think about accountability, some of those things can look like, if let's say you're moving towards a promotion or your goal is a promotion, at the top of every one-on-one, you want to review that rep's goals. Okay, to get to your promotion, we need these things from you. How did you deliver on those things this week? Okay, you delivered on 2 out of the 3. What happened to the third? What's blocking you? How can I help you get to that third? Instead of, berating them, you didn't get to the third, you need to get there. You need to understand why there was a miss, because there might just be a blocker in the system or ops or the product. And it's our job as managers to help unblock anything that the rep has standing in their way towards achieving goals.
Love it. Right. So you're not berating, you're asking questions, and you're holding everyone like accountable, but like really, and I did some light stalking on your LinkedIn. You're a big fan of that book, the book by Jocko, Extreme Ownership. And it sounds a lot more like what you just described is like making the rep or the individual own their goals, right? Or their before we jump into extreme ownership, I want to clarify accountability. So, I find like accountability could be like, you can go as a manager, micromanage them, accountability for the day, the week, the month, the quarter. In your mind, as for to be effective as a sales leader, hitting your numbers, your goals, your quota, what have you, what's the frequency of accountability? As in like, where do you hold them accountable? As in their daily tasks, in their outputs, and then what they say? How do you think about that?
Yes. So going back to the original point of making it about them, we want them bought into their own goals, right? That's why they're here. That's why they're at work. Everybody has a different why. So we need to frequently revisit that. And the way I do it is in weekly one-on-one. So before we go into deal review, which should really only be a small subset of your one-on-one, it's reviewing their goals, how they're performing against them, discussing any blockers, the managers or myself leaving with any takeaways to unload those blockers. But then when we think about accountability on a bigger scale, one thing that I've found immensely helpful is a quarterly business review. So we do it at the top of each quarter, and it takes about a full day, but it's each rep going through their book of business, outlining their path to goal on their specific numbers and presenting their plan based on their numbers of how to get there. Now, one time I had a rep present the team's number or the team's KPIs based on his number, right? So he had a number and he was doing it off of an average of 20% close rate. His close rate was only 10%. And so we as a group had to hold him accountable and say, your close rate is half of the team's. So you actually have to do double the inputs to get to the same result. And so knowing that we were able to catch that at the beginning of the quarter and put him on the right trajectory from a supportive standpoint, not of, you're lacking or you're slacking here, you need to do twice to catch up. It was the reality of, if you do what everyone else is doing based on your numbers, you are not going to hit. So if you want to hit, we have to change the numbers, and we have to change them at the top of the quarter instead of when it's too late, when we're 1 month out from the end of quarter.
I love it. And so you do this at the start of the quarter for how they plan on hitting their team, and you do this as a group.
Yes.
You find that the group dynamic helps because everyone kind of lifts each other up type of thing?
Yes. So the format is a retrospect and then a look ahead. So what went well, what a tongue twister, what went well for me last quarter. And so reps get to highlight their strengths. And then if I say, I did really well at this, and a rep is thinking, wow, I could really use some help with that, later they will go and meet with the stronger rep in that, and they'll help each other and lift each other up. So after they do the retrospect, then they look ahead at the next quarter and plan out according to their numbers how they're actually going to hit. So yes, the group aspect has been really helpful because they can lean on each other's strengths and weaknesses and uplift at the same time.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think you're like the math on like if someone has a low close rate, there's no way to hit the same number if everyone wants the same without that person getting more leads. And so it's like, I find if I were in that shoes, I'd be like, I need more leads, but I also maybe need to like take some training, to get better at that. And so I know I wasn't originally planning on talking about like training, and I know that's what you guys do as a company. I'm a firm believer in training all the reps, all the whole team, like helping level them up. Like we probably spend like $1,000 to $2,500 a year per person
Oh, wow.
on training. Some of that, I'd say like some of it's like more, and then with the sales team, they get a lot of the same access to training. So actually like it brings the average down. But like, you know, I look at the numbers, like higher close rate means you need less leads to get the number up. Helping a rep close, one of the biggest things we had an impact on was like our reps just being comfortable saying a big number and then pausing. That was like the one thing. And we took lots of training. I forgot where we took the training, but they just got more comfortable saying a bigger number, and magically the ACV of our deals went up, right? And therefore all revenue went up. But super firm believer in like just training. And what better place than P Club, right? To go do that. If your reps or your team ain't getting smarter, you have dumber or the same people while everyone else is getting smarter. You can't compete in this market. But let's talk about extreme ownership. So, like, you read this book, you're jacked up on this. Like, how do you apply this into your life and your business and in your role? Like, where does this fit for you?
Yeah, I would say life in general gets so much easier when you take ownership for everything in it, right? So it can even just go back to how you start your day, right? Am I going to pick up my phone first thing in the day and be reactive to somebody else demanding my attention? Or am I going to set my alarm 30 minutes later, go get fresh air, move my body, eat a healthy breakfast, and am I going to command my day? So as soon as you own everything that happens in your life, it is so much easier to take accountability and to change the trajectory of all of your goals, because I can control my inputs and I can control my outputs, and I can control what I do every day. I can't control what you or anybody else does. And so just by owning every aspect of the sales cycle, you can really control your destiny in sales. So one thing that we're always going to hear from reps, rightfully or wrongfully so, is I don't have enough leads, right? Or my territory is so small. That is, tale as old as time, and we're never going to not hear it. So how do you take extreme ownership to accept that your territory is too small or there aren't enough leads? Well, you need to hit the phones. You need to start creating meaningful cadences. You need to outbound and create your own pipeline, or you need to study your territory. You need to find a few very strong evangelist customers of yours that can refer you within your network. And so as soon as you can take ownership and start making things happen for yourself, you'll be surprised at how much can happen for you.
Love it. Yeah, I think it's I love that book, and one of the things I see like most humans do is they play the victim card versus the victor, right? Like, so like I don't have enough leads. It's December. Well, hey, it's December. Every December is slower. And because it's slower, I'm going to do these 5 things to really make sure the smaller lead volume I have I can figure out my close rate. I can get more find champions or referrals and whatever, right? So like you could either be the victim of your situation or you can rise above it and take action on it. And let's be realistic. Like the victim card doesn't get you anywhere in life. You can complain. Maybe you have a drink, you complain with your husband, wife, spouse, partner, friends, and they all give you a pat in the back, a hug. At the end of that session, you still are in the same damn situation. So, but anyways, that's awesome. I love it. So everyone watching, first of all, go to P Club, get your sales team trained, improve, whatever ways whatever weaknesses are in your team, go tackle those first. Number 2, what Meredith said, accountability, empathize with your folks. Start with empathy, hold your team accountable, and teach them. What you're really doing is teaching them how each individual can be accountable for themselves. And I love that.
Absolutely.
Where can people go to follow along your journey and to learn more?
Yes, you can add me on LinkedIn, Meredith Chandler, or you can come check us out at pclub.io.
Awesome. Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.